Today is, I think, maybe the 15th of September. Having my morning coffee before I start my day. Just soaking up a little sunshine in the morning. Warm myself up. I'm about 60 pounds lighter than I used to be a couple months ago. And, man, I get cold easily. My hair is a mess. My niece gave me a haircut so I don't look like a wild man anymore. I got the dog out on the porch with me. So there's something that I actually made a couple videos about it, and I deleted them because I wasn't happy with the quality of it. And it's something that I've been pondering for a while. This thing with Epstein, I have to explain something. I really thought that everything about this guy was going to get released. But I realize now, and it's not going to get released at all. And let me explain something to you. And maybe I'm gonna explain something, and maybe we'll understand where I'm getting at with this. I'm a Star Trek fan, okay? Not like where I dress up and all that stuff, but the original stuff. The original series, Next Generation, and the Next Generation spin-offs. If you know Star Trek, you know what I'm talking about. And there was one installment that, at the time, it didn't get the support it really deserved. And it was called Deep Space Nine. And they had an overreaching, it was on for several years, and they had a multi-year story arc about a race of, about an organization called the Dominion. Okay, and the idea behind this Dominion was it was a governmental organization in a distant quadrant of the galaxy that the Federation wasn't involved in. And the Dominion was a shadowy governmental body that had the appearance of being ruled by one group of people or one group of beings. It was actually being ruled in the shadows. They were being controlled in the shadows by another group of beings. And the premise was that there was this alien race that were shapeshifters, changelings, and they could change themselves into anything or anybody. They could be a chair, or they could be your best friend. And because they were able to do this, they became feared. In the past, they became feared. And these changelings were more or less nearly hunted to extinction. And in order to preserve themselves, they went undercover and they started to rule and control. They used their natural abilities to make themselves look like other things. They infiltrated things, and they were able to undermine everything and get into a position where they controlled the entire quadrant of the galaxy through the shadows, out of fear of becoming extinct because they were persecuted, because they were genocided in the past. So everybody thinks they're not real, but in truth, they're just controlling things so they don't go extinct again. So they let everybody think that they didn't exist, but in the end, they're controlling everything. The changelings and the Dominion were really being ruled. The Dominion was really ruled by these changelings, out of fear of their own, because they were so fearful of other beings that couldn't change. The people like you and I, or Klingons, or whatever, just regular living creatures that weren't like them. You get this? You get what I'm saying here? So the whole reason none of this Epstein stuff is ever going to come to light is because there is changelings in our world, not as I described it, but I'm using it as a metaphor. If you understand what I'm talking about. And the changelings have their agents, and they have their ways and means of controlling things from behind the scenes to protect themselves from being persecuted again. Now, if you are an intelligent person with an understanding of our world, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. And the crazy thing is I gotta talk in code like this because if I just said the real stuff out loud, I would be labeled various things that are just not true. Now, if you would have asked me many, many years ago if I ever believed in this sort of thing and per se that there's a dominion behind in our world, at least in Western society and Western culture, if you would have said that, I would have laughed at you. But the older I got and the more I started to realize there seems to be some, how deep it is, I don't know. But there definitely seems to be truth to this matter. And what is real and what is made up and false information and so on and so forth is anybody's guess. But I think if you watch world events and you see weird stuff that doesn't make any sense, you have to wonder if there is an agenda behind it. And if there is some type of dominion/changeling thing going on. Because it sure seems that there is and don't get me wrong, I think every nation has the right to exist, whatever parameters they put and borders they put up. They have the right to. I might not agree with their tactics or whatever, but how much can you interfere in the affairs of other people without being noticed to have a positive effect on the people that you govern? Where we're going to draw the line here? And I'm speaking from my own government, for that matter. There's all kind of funny business that goes on with ours, so I'm just throwing that out there. So if you aren't familiar with the whole Star Trek Dominion changeling thing, just do a quick Google search of it, I guess. I had a funny, I recently told this to a friend of mine who was a big Star Trek fan, and I said, "You ever see the parallels here?" Sometimes there's that whole thing where it says life imitates art, right? And you got this out there, and it's kind of an allegory for something. Just saying. Till next time.